Okay, one thing I noticed is the box doesn't just lift up. One thing I noticed right away is the box doesn't detach and lift up, which is not the biggest deal in the world, but in my opinion, so you don't rip up the box in case you got to do a return, it even says please keep the package box for at least 30 days on the top up here. I would lay it flat like this and then slide it up. I love the color. The color's awesome. I really like the way the quality of this bike is built and how much they protect it. One thing I do want to mention is you can see there's a lot of waste whenever you unbox a product, especially an e-bike. This isn't the fault of HeyBike, but as a side note, I want to say please find a local recycling center where you live and be conscious not to throw this just in your landfill trash. I mean, this is horrible for landfill, and I get it. You know, I may sound hypocritical or it may sound funny coming from me having a tech channel, but just know I do take this to recycling centers where they can recycle every single piece, even this, or whatever they can. In this book, Regeneration, they have a chapter called Urban Mobility, and it says that there's 340 million cars that hit the roads in 1976 globally, and there's 1.5 billion cars and trucks today globally, but by 2030, it's set to reach 2 billion. I feel like people use e-bikes as a luxury and not really a necessity. Whereas my mindset with using an e-bike comes out of necessity and saying, hey, I think this will really change a lot in how people feel in cities and how much easier it is to get around and have a good lifestyle with being outdoors, being eco-friendly, and just using way less expense and way less waste compared to using a car. But still, we're looking at big picture here. So with this HeyBike Ranger S model, the 1,000-watt motor is unbelievable. It is so quick where, I mean, for the first time in my life, I kind of felt scared riding a bike. Now, not scared as in I wasn't getting a thrill, but I'm telling you, if you're somebody that doesn't wear a helmet, you get a helmet whenever you get an e-bike, and especially if you get one this fast, all it takes is one little accident and it's gonna be bad. You know, when I first really started pushing this and going 35 miles an hour, I mean, I've even had people look at me like, how is that bike going that fast? Now, in my city, I haven't had any issues with law enforcement questioning me or stopping me and being like, hey, are you sure that's not a moped or anything? It's so incredible. So right off the bat, if you're looking for speed and just looking for pure power and you don't want to feel a workout at all, this is the bike to get. But I don't recommend having it on full power because you're going to drain your battery like crazy. About what I've been seeing, about 25-30% less if you're keeping it on full power, just burning through the battery. So it is going to come with a flaw, and that's wasting the battery life. Comfortability is the second thing. And I really love the comfortability of this bike. As long as you adjust the handlebars properly and as long as you adjust the seating properly, the seat that it came with doesn't feel comfortable at all. I would believe it's going to be comfortable for most people. Third thing I want to mention is the controls, and actually let me just do a separate video walkthrough talking about the controls. One of the most important things to remember right off the bat is whenever not in use, you can turn off the battery, and it's recommended that whenever you're not using it to turn it off. But of course, since I'm going to show you the display and all the inner workings of how the controls work, we are going to turn this on, and you just hold the power button for a few seconds and it's activated. So you have your power bar, you have your speed limit, you have your mileage, you have the backlight right here, and then you have the information toggle right here to switch between trip and your max speed, average, and the odometer. You have your brake, of course. You have your toggling between your power modes. It just goes by numbers. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 obviously using the full power of the 1,000-watt motor. And so it's not like other bikes where they have names like sport mode, eco mode, etc. I keep it on 3 most of the time. And then you have your light switch. You have your turn signals. Now that's left, right, and then in the middle is off. You have your horn. I'm not going to hit it right now, but you also have on the right side an auto switch. So it just turns on the lights once it knows it's dark enough. And then you have your gauges right here with the Shimano switches for your gears. The top is to lower it, and the bottom is to hit it higher. Gosh, I'm stumbling over my words. Then of course the right brake, and then the throttle for the motor. And I'll go ahead and hit the horn. So the controls are awesome. It's just the placement of them is what feels weird. And like what I was saying about the turn signal, I wasn't used to having to reset it. I was used to my Eventon e-bike where you hit the button once and then it turns off after a few seconds. So I was hoping to do a lot of B-roll content, but it giving me this error. And I checked all the cables. I checked everything. The handlebar thing is what was pretty frustrating, and having to set up the wheel. So I don't know. Hopefully I can figure this out. But honestly, it is really frustrating. It is so funny how my first experience folding this bike was when I ran into that issue, and I also forgot my bike lock on my Eventon bike. So I really did fold it up and put it in that coffee shop as a true first impression. Like I was like, okay, this is actually an emergency situation in a sense. So I have to fold up the bike, because they even told me that. They're like, you can bring it in, but just make sure it's not in the right of way of the doors. So for me, I love this bike. So far, haven't had any issues except with the assembly. This is the one issue I had that was really stressful, and it has to do with really the cable management. So let me just show you what I mean. Okay, just giving a real-time update. 2 minutes after I just made the other clip, it's giving me this error, but the motor and the throttle's not working, but the pedal assist is. So strange. I really got to figure it out. So what I found out that 05 error code was too much tension on the brake cables right here, specifically these screws. So even when I contacted customer support, they said, yeah, you're probably going to have to tighten or loosen these screws for the cables and the electronics to be properly pinched together. It's really interesting. So I loosened them on both ends until the error code went away. Now, would it have been a different story if I bought this bike in person? Definitely. I'm pretty sure it would have been a way different story than unfolding it and having to assemble it myself. It's just, even when looking through the owner's manual, there really wasn't like a warning on that. It just gave me the error codes, but it's not like it was telling me, hey, most likely because you're assembling it yourself, you're probably gonna have to make adjustments and just make sure everything's running good. Because as soon as I assembled the bike and took it out on the road, it was working fine, and then it just stopped working. So imagine the anxiety I felt. I was thinking I had a defective product. Now, when I got home and I finally had the tools again and I adjusted it, everything's been fine. I haven't had any issues at all. I just wasn't expecting that, because truth be told, with my first e-bike I ever reviewed, which was the Eventon, nothing like that has come up. The only thing I've had to deal with was manually adjusting the cables on the brakes because of just wear and tear. But I haven't had to replace the brakes on that. And that's another thing too I want to mention about the brakes. With how fast this bike goes, the brakes are incredible. I mean, I'll show you a video right here. So let's go ahead and start speeding up. All right, I'm at 20. Let's stop now. All right, that was about 5 seconds from 20 miles an hour to completely a dead stop with using both brakes. So I know it wasn't the best test, given I don't have a GoPro or something hanging on my neck, but hey, there you go. Folding the e-bike is really simple. First thing I would recommend is make sure you fold the handlebars down before you unhook the latch and the centerpiece, and then use your legs to fold it in half while you're squeezing the seat and holding your hand on the front suspension to be able to pull it in. And it doesn't take that much effort. The most awkward thing to not forget is to fold the handlebars down. And then same thing with the steps in reverse. And also make sure the kickstand is up. That will get in the way for sure too. But that's how easy it is to fold it and unfold it. So of course, when you're braking, make sure you give yourself enough space to have proper distance management. You know, you don't want to be coming up on a stop sign going 30 miles an hour on this thing and expect to stop as fast as a car could. Even cars need enough leeway and space. You know, just be very cautious. I'm telling you, you're going to underestimate the power of this bike and how fast you're really going and how dangerous it is until you run into those situations.
if it's your first e-bike you ever rode, because you're gonna wanna push it, you're gonna wanna have a blast, you're gonna want that adrenaline rush, but just be safe. And battery life has been great too. I've been able to use this on a full charge at power level 3 for about 2 days before the battery felt like it was starting to deplete completely, before I'm like, okay, the next day I'm going to have to charge it before taking it out. I haven't fully tested and timed how long the battery life lasts altogether with any single mode. I will have that for the long-term review. But to me, overall, this is an incredible e-bike for the price. My only anxiety was the assembly and putting it together. That was tough. Again, with setting up the handlebars and everything, it was much more of a manual process than I would have liked it to be, where I kind of wish it was you just pull it out of the box, you unfold it, and boom, you should be good to go. Just kind of check some things. But I get it, because it's got to be hard figuring out a way to compress this into a box to have it shipped. You know, I totally understand. So it's not all the way HeyBike's fault, but it's just some feedback for the company. And also for you as somebody buying this, to just double check everything and give it a small test just on the street until you find something for a bit, for a few minutes. But anyhow, that's going to be it for my first impressions of this HeyBike. So fast, so fun, and I can't wait to see how long it lasts. And stay tuned, because I will have a comparison video of this compared to my Aventon, but I want to make sure I use this for about a month before I do that, so I can do that double whammy of, okay, I've used both of these e-bikes for a long time. Which one do I recommend out of both the companies and both styles? So far, what it feels like is I would get this HeyBike if you just want speed and you just want that thrill ride and you just want the fun. That's what this is for. But I like the ease of using my Aventon more. The Aventon is just an easier bike to ride altogether. This one had a couple of issues, as I was mentioning. So anyhow, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.